I thought we were gonna take the donkeys inside. Looks like that concrete is 100 years old. Oh no, more than 100. 19, yeah, more than 100 years old. Feels like a Harley.
Can everybody still hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right, history of Bisbee begins in 1877. In 1877, you got a bunch of soldiers scouting around looking for bands of renegade Apaches who weren't exactly sure that people were coming onto their land. Now, these soldiers did not find said bands of renegade Apaches, but they did find something a bit more interesting, and that something is cerussite. Cerussite is a lead mineral that is often associated with silver. So very generally speaking, if you see this, it means silver is in the area. Now, the soldiers were real excited when they saw this mineral. Many of them were part-time prospectors. They actually knew this fact. They were also excited because earlier that year, you got a guy by the name of Ed Shiflin who found a whole bunch of silver and founded the town of Tombstone. So these guys were thinking to themselves, I wonder if we'll find that much silver. So I have good news and bad news for you. Good news, they found silver. Bad news, not that much silver. What they did find instead was a whole bunch of minerals like iron and copper. They actually found a whole bunch of copper, but back in those days, nobody really cared. It was all about gold and silver. Now, serious mining would not take place until around 1880, and that is largely due to logistics. In order to process and refine any ores extracted from here, mining companies had to send that ore overland to somewhere like Guaymas, Mexico, or to San Francisco, and then ship it by sea to somewhere like New York City or Copperopolis in Wales. And yes, that is its actual name. Yep, Copperopolis, that is the name. Now, it was a very expensive process. Hey, the bills did not generate a lot of profit. Then the 1880s rolls around and two things arrived that changed things for Bisbee. One, railroads. Railroads made this whole logistical problem so much simpler, cheaper, and much more efficient. Second thing, I'm gonna let y'all guess, but I will give you a hint. It involves copper. What arrived?
Electricity.
Exactly, high five, sir. Electricity arrives, and copper becomes a much more valued mineral because it is the best conductor for electricity. And Bisbee was sitting on a whole bunch of it. Bisbee, in nearly 100 years of mining, produced somewhere in the region of 8 billion pounds of copper. For a period of time, they were producing 1/3 of the world's copper. So, as a result, Bisbee booms as a town. It becomes the largest place between St. Louis, Missouri and San Francisco. It was a contender to be the state capital when Arizona became a state, but as you can see, we are not the state capital. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is still up for debate, but either way, mining takes off and continues until 1975. Now, I talked at you for a few minutes. Do you have any questions for me? All right, let me ask you all this. Does anybody need to leave? All right, I hear a whole bunch of crickets, so let's get going.
Let's go. Oh, here goes. Watch out for that joint. Here it comes. Oh, here it comes.
dug that bunch inside the mountain.
No shoring.
And not even afraid if this shit collapses.
No shoring. No shoring whatsoever.
Nothing. There's some right here. I don't know what this is.
This is recent.
Probably. Look at this shoring.
And then go down there. Wow, look at that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Take a picture of that one. Did you get that on video?
What's the pipe for? Water?
Oh, it's electricity. I know it's water. Oh, you know what? Back in the day, they used to do that hydroblasting.
It's rolling. It's rolling. We're rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep those guys rolling. No. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, missed that one. Here's a doorway. I wonder who bought this and made it into a tourist attraction.
There's your.
At the brakes.
Alright, please follow me up the steps. If you don't like stairs, you can stay down here. Keep your property.
Pretty much the last car.
Is it?
Yes.
That's from 1872.
Yep. 480. No smoking. Or matches. Or farting.
If you mash me, it's okay.
At least it's less hot.
Yeah.
These don't look like the proper steps. I like the rebar handles. Oh, very nicely done. You dig out this thing. What's down here? Huh. Yeah. I saw that. Look at behind you over here. This guy.
That guy's on overtime. Check it out, that dude.
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to close the door. I don't want to accidentally send you down the stairs. in tunnels like the one we were just in. That is very much not the case. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs lied to you. Tunnels, they're just roads. They move people, minerals, and equipment throughout the mine and in and out of the mine. It's in places like this where the bulk of the main mining activity occurs. This is the stope. That is S-T-O-P-E, stop with an E. Now a stope is where an ore body, in this case copper, used to be, and after it was extracted, this is what's left behind, this huge cavern-like area. Now this particular stope goes a couple hundred feet that way, over there, and a few hundred feet below us. Hearing those dimensions, do you think this is a big stope or a small stope?
Small.
Yes, you are all correct. It is a small stope. In fact, it's one of our smallest stopes. We have one the size of a baseball field, and appropriately enough, it is called the ballpark. We're not going to see that one on this tour. Darn. Now, I said this is where an ore body used to be. So how do these miners even find these things back in the day when we didn't have computers and technologies to help us detect these things? Well, these guys use a combination of trial and error and experience. Experienced miners would be looking for signs of mineralization. So something like this. They would take a look at its location, its color, its texture, sometimes its smell. They will also take a look at the types of minerals there, and they'll say, aha, there's something nearby. But the thing with this method, though, is you don't know where nearby. There's not a giant sign saying ore body 500 feet this way, dig safely, don't spend all your money. No, this is where trial and error comes in. Bisbee miners back in the day literally built tunnels all over the place just looking for these ore bodies, just hoping they would essentially trip over one. So what they would do is they would pick a direction, build a tunnel, keep going until they realize, hey, there's nothing there. So they would pick a different direction, build a tunnel, keep going until they realize, hey, there's nothing there. And they'll keep doing this until they find an ore body. This sounds like a total pain in the rear end, but luckily for later miners, we have two things that would help them in their search. Diamond tip drills and core sampling. With these two things, a miner didn't have to look everywhere. They could actually narrow their search down to a relatively smaller area, and they would find an ore body with a higher degree of accuracy. All hail technology, all hail progress. Woohoo! Now, let's say we find an ore body. What's next? Well, you gotta prepare to extract it. So if you can shine your lights on me for a hot second, I'm gonna give you a very, very, very crude model. So imagine my fist as an ore body. Miners would typically build a tunnel, at least like the one we were in, at least a couple hundred feet below, paralleling it, and once they reach the bottom of the ore body, they'll create a vertical shaft called a raise. And in most mines, this is the end of the story. All you have to do is drill, blast, get the goods, and go. But here in Bisbee, we actually have to take an extra step because the rock here is mostly limestone. It's a relatively weak stone, and when you extract the ore, it creates a hole that the ground wants to fill in. When you work underground, bad idea. You did not want this happening. So what does a miner do? Well, here in Bisbee, miners use a technique called a square set. And we have an example of one behind you folks. And if you're inside, ta-da, that's it. This hollow wooden cube. These guys were pieced together like Legos, and it held up the side and the top from collapsing in on itself. Pretty nifty, right? Now, so if you shine your lights on me for a hot second, I'm going to give you a very, very crude model of how it's installed. So we're back to our ore body. We have our tunnel, we have our raise. Starting at the bottom of the raise, miners would dig out this area, install the square sets. Go up, dig out this area, install the square sets, and they'll keep going as far as they need to, and then they will drill, blast, get the goods, and go. These guys were typically made out of soft woods, and can anybody guess why? You can actually shout your answers at me. Why soft woods?
Lighter.
Cheap, lighter, very good guesses. What was it?
Flex.
Exactly, flexing. You want the flexibility, because if you were to use hardwood underground and the ground moves, it will snap immediately. Did not want that happening. But if you use softwoods, it'll bend before it breaks, and when it's ready to go, it'll do what miners call talking. It'll pop, it'll creak, and it'll groan. And when a miner hears this, hopefully he has enough time to do one of two things. One, to add more supports, or two, to get out of there, because you do not want to be caught in that mess. Bisbee used to have a local supply of softwoods, but when the mining industry really took off, we actually destroyed it. When we destroyed our local supply, mining companies had to ship in lumber from the Pacific Northwest in order to feed that demand. Now I'm going to pause here for a hot second. Anybody got questions, comments, concerns, complaints, or edits? Just shout out your questions or comments.
Do you know how old this ore is? Because you mentioned limestone, so I'm guessing this is from like Ordovician, like soft, shallow seas.
I am so the wrong person to ask that. I am not a geologist. I have zero interest in geology. No, let me direct you to my boss, and please don't tell him I said this, the balding gentleman in the office. He is a geologist, he can answer all your questions on that, for I am just strictly a history girl.
Perfect.
Well, not that old of a history. Somewhat recent history. All right, any other questions?
How many people would work in here?
So in the size of a stope like this, you get a relative handful, so maybe 6 at the most. If you're working on a larger stope, you can easily get a couple hundred. Exactly, and then on every level, it's like you can easily exceed 1,000.
So how do they get in fresh air and stuff like that?
Ventilation.
I know, but
Oh yeah, so you get natural ventilations from the shafts and the tunnels, of course, and then this is based on what I heard, so please take this with a grain of salt. Even back in the old days, they had something like a giant fan blowing air. And nowadays, we just have, our system brings air from the outside and it uses tubing to get redirected to where we need it to go. And please don't ask me any more than that. That is a technical question. Stephanie is strictly a history girl. Thank you. Sorry, I know I kind of danced around your question. Did I answer it too?
you answered it.
Okay, thank you.
I was saying the same thing though.
Any other questions?
So this is still a working mine?
No, all mining activities ended in 75. I don't think any of the mining companies would allow us to do tours if this was active. Too many problems, issues of safety and liability.
So is it because the ores were expended or?
Actually, no. We still have quite a bit of ore here. Now, the short answer to that question is economics. Do you want the long answer?
Yes.
Okay, the long answer is as follows. So there's a lot of different factors that went into why the mines closed. I only know about 3 of them. So 1, the price of copper. What you have to understand about the copper mining process is that it's very, very, very expensive. You have to essentially own a gold mine to run a copper mine. It is that expensive. Now, every piece of ore that gets extracted has to pay the bills. If it doesn't, it's not worth it. So it was around the end of the Vietnam War. The price of copper drops. Mining companies looked at the situation, looked at their books, did the math, and said, we're done. That's 1. Number 2, the quality of copper. In the beginning, the quality of copper was very, very, very high. So let's look at America at the turn of the 20th century, late 1800s. Most profitable mines were producing copper around 7%, maybe 7 to 10, depending on where you were. Here in Bisbee, we were producing copper in the region of 20% plus. Very, very high quality. Let me drive this point home because I saw a lot of blank looks and glazed eyes. So in our peak days, so let's take a look at 1908. I'm going to be pulling numbers. These mines could easily pull out $48,000 worth of copper a day. In today's money, that is nearly $2 million. That is how good the copper was.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end there, it was very much not the case. I imagine if the price of copper hadn't dropped, the mining companies would have gone a little bit longer than they did. But since the price of copper did drop, the mining companies looked at the situation, looked at the books, and said, we're done. That's 2. Number 3, Phelps Dodge was just losing interest in this area. They've been here for a very long time. They wanted to be elsewhere, so they started moving assets and people out of the area to like north to like places like Morenci, Ajo, to anywhere but here essentially. And that's why the mining ended here in 75. Did that answer your question? It was a very long answer.
Okay, you got tunnel mining like what we're in.
Mm-hmm.
When did the strip pit mining, did it start after or before?
After, actually. It started, well, at least the lavender pit over there started in 1917 and actually closed a year before everything ended. It ended in 74. So there was a period of time where underground mining and open pit mining were running at the same time. So basically looking for the same thing, just looking for doing it in a different method.
So when did mining in like this tunnel area stop?
So in this particular area, it stopped around like the 20s or 30s. That's for the Queen Mine. Now this tunnel became an underground firefighting training ground in the 40s. So they would bring miners from all over New Mexico and Arizona to train here. They would teach them how to rescue miners caught in fires and how to operate within low visibility conditions. When they were certified, they returned to their home mines. And that was basically done until almost the end, I think. Ooh, lots of good questions. Very good day for me. Woohoo! Well, unfortunately, we do have to move on. So, we found our ore, we prepared to extract it, now we need to actually extract it. Before the 20th century, everything was done by hand with tools like these guys. Hammer and a little steel bit. And a good miner knows that he can't go wild on any wall he sees. He needs to find a piece of wall that will break in the way he needs to after he drills his holes and adds the dynamite. And to do that, miners need to do a skill called reading the rock. This meant he would have to be able to look at a piece of wall and determine from the types of rocks there and the quality of those rocks, what's a good spot. When things became mechanized, miners actually lost that ability, which is a shame because that sounds like a pretty neat hat trick there. But anyways, moving on. Once he finds that, and you can shine your lights on me. Once he finds that Goldilocks zone, he's gonna put up his steel bit like this, and without hitting himself, he's gonna strike the end. After each hit, he's gonna turn it ever so slightly. So hit, turn, hit, turn, hit, turn. He's gonna keep doing that until a hole is formed. And when you get a certain amount of holes at a certain depth, dynamite is added, they blast it, they get the goods and go. This is not the world's fastest method. So when mining took off, miners needed something that could go faster. And that something arrived here in Bisbee by 1904. And that something is, somebody want to Vanna White that for me? Yep. This pneumatic drill. No worries. So these guys were introduced in 1904. These guys used compressed air that was generated on the surface, piped into the mine. The miner would connect the hose to the pipe, connect it to this drill, and off to the races they go. This is so much faster than doing it by hand. All hail technology, all hail progress. Woohoo! Now we have a problem. And can anybody guess what that problem is? What? Very good guess, but no.
Vibration.
Very, very good guess, but no. What gets kicked up when you drill?
Dust.
Dust, exactly. A lot of dust gets kicked up. And inside the dust are silica particles, and when a miner breathes this in, he gets an illness known as silicosis. It is our version of the black lung of the coal mines. Very, very, very nasty stuff. But luckily for later miners, we had something that could manage that issue. And that something is water. Water was piped into the mine. A miner would connect a hose to that pipe, connect it to the drill. There would be a water line running through the drill and it spat water at the tip. Kept your dust levels down, kept your cases of silicosis down as well. So, woohoo! Now, shine your, let me move out of the way a bit. Shine your lights on this for a hot second. Anybody else see a different problem with this?
Size.
Size and weight. It is super big and super heavy. It has to be, it needs this wall to support it. Thank you, there's that word I was looking for. You also need a whole group of guys just to install and run this. But what you have to understand about these early models of drills is that their main goal is to go faster, 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 faster. Nobody really thought about, hey, this is too big. Hey, this is too heavy. What if I can only get one guy to install and operate this? All these problems that were cropping up, nobody really thought about it. It wouldn't be until like a few years later where somebody was like, whoa there, Nelly, let's solve those problems. And solve those problems they did. Later models of drills would be relatively smaller. They would be relatively lighter. One single miner can pick it up and use it as he sees fit. Also, later models of drills had additional features that would help the miner do his job safely and much more efficiently, like replaceable parts. If something broke, all a miner had to do was get that part, replace it, slap it back together, and get back to work. With these early models of machines, that did not happen. If something broke, well, you might have to throw out your machine because there was no fixing it. Yeah, I know, pretty wasteful, right? But it is what it was. I can't speak English anymore. Any questions?
Who owns the mine now?
Freeport McMoran. We lease it from them to run, we being the city of Bisbee leases it from them to run the tours. Yeah, I think they inherited us from Phelps Dodge, who they bought out in like, what, the 2000s? I feel like I'm an old antique nobody wants. Anyways, any other questions or comments? All right, did I explain it that well? Yes. So, let me take a look at the time, make sure I'm not holding you guys hostage. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to send you down the stairs. Watch your step at the very bottom there. It is a half step. It ends your day if you slip on that. Ask me how I know that.
How deep did this mine go?
Deep?
Deep?
As far as we're gonna go right now, we're gonna go 1,500 feet.
And then we're gonna ride back this way?
Yes, we're gonna track back. Yeah.
What about the train that was ahead of us?
Right now they are stopped at the 1,500
I
feet
got
mark.
you. And then does it go further?
It does go further, but it's blocked off due to two reasons. Most of the other mines here, other tunnels, they're either caved in or flooded.
Flooded?
So, yes, flooded. So right now, if you would like to ask her a question about that, sure.
As soon as we lose, we go. Come on. Come on, boy. Jump in. Let's go. Put your bad knee over there. There you go. There you go.
How many feet are we in?
700.
700 right now?
At the moment, yes.
And then the next one is
15.
1500, and then we're coming back
Yes.
at 15?
It's not a science.